they're not doing their jobs. He needs to make sure that they're back here. If anybody is preventing troops from getting paid, it is the Speaker of the House.
October 1st, 2025. Just after midnight, the United States government officially shut down. Federal websites displayed warning pages. Museums and offices closed their doors. Hundreds of thousands of workers stayed home without knowing when their next paycheck would arrive. But behind the headlines and political finger-pointing lies something deeper. A recurring fracture in how the world's largest democracy funds itself and serves its people. This is not just another episode of partisan gridlock. It's a reflection of how fragile the American system of governance has become. Welcome to Beyond the Forgotten, where we step away from noise and look beneath the surface of events that shape nations and lives. Today, we're unpacking the 2025 US government shutdown, what caused it, who it's hurting, and what it reveals about the country's political and economic health. To understand a shutdown, you first need to know how the US government actually keeps its lights on. Every year, Congress must approve spending bills to fund agencies and departments before the new fiscal year begins on October 1st. If lawmakers fail to pass those bills, the government legally loses authority to spend money. The Anti-Deficiency Act forbids most federal agencies from operating without approved funds, forcing them to halt so-called non-essential functions. The word shutdown sounds total, but it isn't. Programs tied to life, safety, or constitutional obligations, like the military, border control, and emergency services, continue. So do benefits such as Social Security and Medicare, which are financed through permanent statutes. Everything else waits. Thousands of employees are furloughed, meaning they're sent home without pay until Congress acts. Others, deemed essential, keep working but still don't get paid until the government reopens. The 2025 shutdown didn't come out of nowhere. It's the result of years of brinkmanship built into the US budget process. This time, the immediate trigger was a deadlock between Democrats and Republicans over healthcare subsidies and spending rescissions. Democrats wanted to protect existing health funding, while Republicans pushed for cuts and resisted tying policy riders to funding bills. Both chambers passed conflicting versions of appropriations packages, and the negotiations stalled in late September. When the final continuing resolution expired, there was no deal, and the government went dark. The deeper problem, though, isn't one issue or one party. It's a political system that has turned budgeting into a battlefield. Shutdowns have become bargaining tools. Each side calculates how much public pressure it can withstand before conceding. But that calculation doesn't account for the millions of people caught in the middle. Past shutdowns have shown what prolonged paralysis costs. The one in 2018 lasted 35 days, the longest in history, and cost the economy over $11 billion. The current one is already surpassing early estimates, with economists projecting losses of around $7 to $15 billion a week if it continues. Those are abstract numbers until you break them down. Every delayed paycheck reduces consumer spending. Every halted contract disrupts supply chains. Every frozen permit slows construction, hiring, or research. The effects spread outwards, from local shops near federal offices to multinational firms that depend on government clients. The most visible victims are federal workers. Around 900,000 have been furloughed, and another 700,000 are still reporting to work without pay. Some are living off savings or credit cards, others are visiting food banks. Many of them have endured shutdowns before and know that back pay is not always guaranteed or timely. Beyond that, small contractors and local service providers who work with federal agencies rarely get reimbursed at all. For them, every day of closure is an unrecoverable loss. The scientific and research communities are facing a quieter but equally devastating blow. Institutions like the NIH, NASA, and the CDC have paused large portions of their work. Clinical trials and disease surveillance programs are on hold, and grant approvals have stopped. The longer the shutdown lasts, the more data gaps emerge. In climate research, health studies, and national statistics that rely on continuous monitoring. Those lost days aren't just delays, they're permanent breaks in scientific records. The defense and industrial sectors, while partly insulated, are not untouched. Existing contracts continue under prior funding, but new awards and renewals are frozen. That means small manufacturers, tech firms, and suppliers who rely on federal partnerships are seeing stalled payments and uncertain futures. The Defense Production Act, a key tool for maintaining industrial readiness, may lose parts of its authorization if the stalemate drags on. Meanwhile, oversight bodies like the SEC and EPA are operating with skeleton crews. Financial filings, audits, environmental inspections, and safety reviews are either delayed or halted entirely. Cybersecurity, already under strain, is another casualty. CISA, the main federal cybersecurity agency, has furloughed most of its staff, leaving critical systems more exposed. The IRS has announced furloughs for nearly 34,000 employees, slowing tax processing and assistance services. Visa and immigration applications are stacking up as consular offices scale back operations. International students and researchers waiting for renewals are stuck in limbo. At airports, controllers and TSA staff are working without pay, maintaining safety but under growing stress. While flight operations have continued, even minor delays hint at what could come if morale breaks. Then there's the social ripple. Programs like WISO and SNAP, which support millions of low-income families, are funded only temporarily. If Congress doesn't act soon, those safety nets will thin out. Nonprofits depending on federal reimbursements are suspending community programs or cutting staff. State and local governments, facing their own budget limits, are trying to fill the gap, but few can sustain it for long. Each of these effects is part of a larger pattern: erosion of trust. For ordinary Americans, the shutdown turns daily life into a maze of uncertainty. Applying for a passport, renewing a permit, or simply getting official information becomes a challenge. For the global community, it sends another message: that the US government, often seen as a model of stability, can't always guarantee basic continuity. The question now is how long it will last. Shutdowns have no built-in expiration. They end only when Congress and the president agree on a funding bill. Some have lasted a few days, others stretch into weeks. The first real test will come mid-October, when paychecks for active duty military and federal law enforcement are due. Historically, those moments of public and political pressure push lawmakers toward compromise. Potential resolutions include passing a short-term continuing resolution to buy time, negotiating a full omnibus spending package, or reopening agencies in stages. But none of those paths are guaranteed, and each requires one side to step back from maximal demands, something modern American politics rarely rewards. Economically, the longer it continues, the more fragile the system becomes. Uncertainty affects not just workers, but also investors and international partners. Government creditworthiness, already strained by debt ceiling fights, could face further scrutiny. A prolonged shutdown risks downgrading trust in U.S. institutions, the same institutions that anchor global finance. What can citizens do in the meantime? On a practical level, the advice is simple: stay informed through official agency channels, not rumors. Those expecting federal payments or services should plan for delays and explore local or non-profit alternatives. Federal workers should document communications with their agencies for back pay eligibility. Small businesses should prepare contingency budgets and monitor contract updates. For everyone else, the most important thing is awareness. Understanding that a shutdown isn't a single event, but a chain reaction that touches every layer of society in slow motion. There are a few likely scenarios from here. The optimistic one, a swift compromise, would reopen the government within days, minimizing damage. A prolonged stalemate could push the shutdown past a month, creating backlogs that take years to recover from. Partial funding could bring temporary relief to defense and security departments while leaving scientific and social sectors stranded. And in the most unpredictable case, executive maneuvers or legal challenges could deepen the political divide. In every version, the cost is measured not just in dollars, but in lost time, lost talent, and lost trust. Shutdowns expose something uncomfortable about democracy, that even the most powerful institutions depend on cooperation. When that cooperation collapses, the consequences ripple far beyond Washington. Systems stall, workers suffer, and the public's faith erodes one closure at a time. As the Capitol lights flicker and negotiations continue behind closed doors, the real question isn't just when the government will reopen. It's what kind of government will emerge when it does. Will it be more cautious, more divided, or more determined to fix the structural weaknesses that make these crises inevitable? Thank you for watching Beyond the Forgotten. If you want to keep exploring the stories that lie beneath the surface, the ones shaping history in quiet, often overlooked ways, consider subscribing and sharing this episode, because understanding what's breaking today is the only way to rebuild what might be forgotten tomorrow.